Welcome to another round of Autocar Regional Dialogues powered by Reliance General Insurance. We're talking today with a very important cog in the automotive machinery. We're talking to dealer principals from around the country. Now, they are the vital link between you, the consumer, and the manufacturers. Their jobs are not easy at all. They have to make sure that they take the consumer's voice, that's you, your complaints, your needs, your requirements, back to the manufacturer. And on the other hand, they have to make sure that the manufacturer's products are well received by you, the consumer. They have to manage you customers and keep you loyal within the brand. And if that wasn't hard enough, manufacturers have made their jobs even harder now. With multiple variants, multiple brands in the market, they have to vie for your attention. So it's not easy at all, and that's what we are going to talk to them about today, is how much is the consumer spoiled for choice and how hard has it made their job. We have with us Mr. Varun Gupta from Dream Hyundai and Citroen, Delhi, Mr. Vishnu Goel from Navdesh Autos, Chandigarh, Mr. Vishal Juneja from Vidhata Kia, Ludhiana, and Mr. Gurmeher Singh from Pioneer Toyota, Chandigarh. Welcome, gentlemen. I'm sure this is a topic you love to discuss.
Of course.
How hard has your job become? And I'll throw it open to all of you one by one.
Yeah. So, thank you for having us, and it's a pleasure to be interfacing with a personality like you, Renuka.
Thank you.
But yes, it's a very important question, that the one that we all face today, and it's becoming difficult day by day. I would say that earlier it was just, we could say it was just art. Today, perhaps it's become a blend of more art and science to a lot of extent. So we can think of this, I'd like to play an analogy here. In 1967, we had a model which is called the PEST model, which was the political, economical, sociological, and technological, factors which affect the business performance. I think the way those macro factors were being read to understand how your business would perform, today there are many macro factors which are playing in the sales as well for us. So the regulatory environment is changing. The MTOCs being offered by the OEM manufacturer, they are increasing, transmissions are increasing, colors are increasing,
Fuel
customer,
choices,
and then on top of it, the customer is evaluating between, owning the vehicle or, probably going for some other formats. So there is a whole plethora of choices which are, he's being bombarded with today, and it's making the job more and more difficult even for us. But then the choice is always good for the consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
You're all just smiling very silently, but there's a lot of thought there.
What I would like to say is this: yes, it is very difficult to sell these days, but on the contrary, in order to keep the market going, in order to keep the buzz going, we ought to have these kind of choices. It is something that we need to deal with and deal in the right way, because yes, consumer has many choices today, and yes, it is hard to sell. But on the other side, I'll say that yes, you need to give those choices in order to keep the buzz going. Else it will be very monotonous for the buyer also, because there are many kind of buyers these days. There are many categories of buyers these days. We have the corporates, we have the business class, we have the Gen Z, the millennials, all have their own requirements.
Of course.
So in order to keep up the pace and to meet those requirements, we ought to have those kind of things in and around us, and we all need to deal in a way that we are able to sell and sell properly and give the customer the right experience.
Correct. What most, people say that base models are offered at an attractive price. Very few of them really sell. That it's the top end that's selling in the market. What percentage of customers that walk into your showrooms actually buy base models? Is it a large percent, a small percent?
Oh, it is a small percent only. Because see, now technology has been so vast and everybody is familiar with it. The biggest thing which happened in our country, the technology, that knowledge has come to the every smallest person.
Correct.
So he is well aware what he wants to buy, what he is getting, and what added facilities he wants. So base models are just for the people who are upgrading their size of the vehicle, upgrading their model of the vehicle. But majority of the people, they need good technology, good features. And I must add to this that like India is growing, the buyer segment is also, buyer value has also changed. Earlier we used to sell the small value cars, now which has added to the middle segment. Mid segment has grown too much. The base price of the average price of the car has grown up. So that customer also wants a bigger segment, some better technology. So as he is aware of all these things, but base model do matter, that they are also being sold, but in a lower percentage.
I'm going to pick up on two things that you said. You said technology has increased, so customer is very well aware. On one hand, doesn't that make your job easier because customer knows what he wants? He's walking into your showroom to say, okay, I just want to touch, feel, see this product and I want to buy it. So that's my first question and then I'll get to the next one later.
To what you're saying, it's actually correct, because if a customer is walking into the showroom, he's already 50 to 60% convinced with the product that he wants. Online car portals and everything, they do make our lives easier because of how technology has evolved. The customers do know what they want to buy, the features that are there, what CC is the engine, everything. So as a seller, our lives now are far more easier because we can pitch it in such a way. And the amount of variants that there are as well, they also do help.
Correct.
Because we are able to mold the customer much more easily. And that overall helps in better conversion rates and overall better satisfaction as well, because now we can give the customer the car that he wants rather than not being able to do that before. So all OEMs, you can see, are moving towards that customer-centric approach. So, yeah.
I think to add to the point that he made, I think a bell curve still plays out. I mean, if you look at the Pareto's principle, 80% of your volumes come from, couple of MTOCs. I think despite being consumer informed, despite reading online journal, online YouTube videos, whatever it is, they still come to us with a frame of mind that this is what we want to buy.
Correct.
And eventually we've seen that play out in our product profile as well. We have to keep the entire spectrum of MTOCs, but then eventually we end up selling only few of them on a, so that's also a flip side to it.
It's like people are like researching online and purchasing offline.
Correct.
So they do make up their mind online about their needs and their requirements, but when they do make up their mind, they know they have n number of options to match up their requirements.
Yeah.
So the next phase is when they enter offline onto the showrooms and they say they see every OEM, and based on that, the experience that they get inside the showroom and how the customer relationship manager handles the customer and he gets that confidence that the person knows what I want. Then only he finalizes his option. So there is a phase that is going on. Earlier it used to be that from day one to the last day of buying, it used to be only showroom, but now it has been into phases. So it's like research online and purchase offline. The buyers are more keen on that front.
Yeah.
And Renuka, one more point. There is, to add to that point, there is an external competition, and now there is an internal competition as well.
Yes.
So you compete with the opposite brands, and then you also compete with the products being offered by your brand, and then also with the MTOCs that you are offering in that particular product of your brand.
Yes.
So that was the second question I was going to, because he said on one hand, consumers king, so we have to offer them choice. So on one hand, it makes your job easier that all the choice is there within your brand. He's not going to step out because there isn't a choice. But on the other hand, there's so much competition within your brand as well.
This is information, being spread online, and the more the people have access to it, the more educated they are. And earlier, as I said, they come with understanding of what they want to buy. But then when they walk into our showroom, we also have to compete with our own.
So the consumer is really spoiled for
Of
choice
course,
at
of
this
course,
point
of
in
course,
time.
of course.
But it is your job, and like he's saying, once they come into the showroom, you have to convert them. So is there a kind of, like you said, basically base models don't really sell, but I think that's more a consumer requirement. But you often have consumers who come in for, like, say, mid variants, because they've kind of made up their mind that this is what I need or this is what is fitting into my budget. And do you manage to upsell those, and do you manage to say, okay, yeah, here's a better variant, it's not that much more of a reach, here's an EMI. So I suppose there are various ways of doing that. So how much of that do you do?
I'll say yes. We obviously see what we have, and it is sales. So we try to match up our sales, our stock with the customer requirements.
Yeah.
And knowing the fact that the difference between the variants is not that much these days. and it is very easy in terms of see, we have many financing options available. So even the consumer knows switching on to a higher variant will not be that much difficult. So yes, that's what I said. It's like purchase offline. Once he enters the showroom, he has n number of options, and in a way, we also try to make up to the option in which we are also sorted and he is also sorted. In a way, we
never
try
get
to
sorted.
find out the
We never get sorted.
but it is something that is
Our inventories are growing.
Yes.
Consumer has to buy one car. Earlier,
But,
he used to buy it from.
Very true. The consumer, it can be converted because he has got the theoretical knowledge only. Practical knowledge, when physically it is given by some sales representative and technically he's been shown the things, customer is ready to pay some higher money also, provided he's getting a good thing. So it is quite possible that customer always, that budget pocket is no doubt it is limited, but within that budget, lot of options are available with him.
But does so many variants and so many choices, does that make inventory management very hard? Not only in terms of product, but in terms of after sales, parts, spares, things that you have to do. So how do you deal with that challenge?
The only way to deal the challenge is to deal with it. I mean, we have to be in the business and we have to manage the inventories. But yes, it does make it extremely difficult. So
Cost is being too high.
Cost is
too being high, but there is no other alternative.
There is no alternative. Going forward, there might be. I mean, we were talking of some 3D printing solutions and all. We don't know how things are going to emerge. But as of today, yes, that's a very big challenge.
Yeah, it is tough. What do you think are the top 3 requirements of the Indian consumer today? And I'll take it turn by turn, beginning with you.
Top 3 requirements would be, for us, in my perspective, would be quality, durability and reliability for the products, and that we are able to meet the consumer demand overall, that he's satisfied with the product that we are giving him, and that we are able to meet that expectation that he wants.
I think it depends on what customer you talk to. You talk to a younger customer, his preferences are different. You talk to a middle-aged family man, his preferences are different. And you go to a senior person, it's different. But the one common denominator is overall cost of ownership, which would mean, once you own the car, how much are you going to spend over the lifetime of that car that you enjoy? So yes, that is one. Then obviously the second I would say is the feature set, whether it's the youngest one or the middle one or the senior one, everybody, sunroof, of course, whether it comes from Finland or whatever, but yes, India sunroof sells. So the third I would say is the fuel efficiency. So these are the things.
It is very rightly said. Cost effective, that is the first thing. The pocket is to suit the pocket. First thing, customer is ready what he wants to pay. He finalizes the EMI, what he is able to pay. Cost sustainability, first thing, what cost he is getting. Of course, like I said, mileage is one concern. Second thing is features. Young generation, they are towards the features. How those features are they valued well? What they are paying for it? Because the difference in base model and top model is almost double the cost.
Yeah.
So that analysis also is very important. So customer has to be very knowledgeable for all these things.
I will add to the point that yes, cost and the features is a very much important factor of the final buying decision, and also what I feel is the brand experience in terms of in terms of pride of ownership. Every consumer these days, especially in our market in metro cities, what I feel is they are more keen on having that pride of ownership once they buy the car. So they want to have that feeling that they have that pride of buying this particular model.
Correct.
So cost, features, and I'll say pride of ownership, the brand experience, how they feel after buying, and after sales is also very important for them.
Yeah. And do any of you feel that, I know cost of ownership is something that has remained across from the beginning till now, but do you feel other things that you have mentioned have changed and evolved over a period of time?
Of course, if you look at it in this perspective, features for vehicles now, like they play a huge role across OEMs. I would say that consumers now are very feature centric. If the car has a sunroof, if the car doesn't have a sunroof, if it has ADAS or not. So in those ways, the consumer perspective towards how it was earlier to how it is now, and the needs have changed over a period of time. And that is how I think so. OEMs themselves have also realigned and have brought products in. So to meet that customer demand and be able to appeal to them.
But do you feel like customers are also now veering, like he mentioned ADAS. Safety has become a big topic,
Yep.
which was never a topic of concern. In fact, people would minus ABS, nikal do, ye nikal do, and give me the car cheaper.
Yeah.
Now safety has become a topic that people are discussing. How important do you see that in the showrooms? Are people really concerned, or is it just buzz on social media?
What I feel is post-COVID, especially, the era towards this safety and features have changed. So people are now more keen on these kind of things. Earlier they don't used to be. And this is the reason that base models sales have gone down, because obviously base models don't have that kind of features. So people are more, basically they're evolving. They're more on the evolving side, and they're more looking towards the feature and the safety. So features and safety both are equally important in terms of today's aspect for almost every consumer.
I think regulatory environment is also helping in creating more awareness about safety.
Yeah.
There was a baseline. That baseline has been upped. Earlier, seat belts were not mandatory. Now they are mandatory. There was initial hesitation at putting seat belts, but then once people started doing it, they realized how good it is. Then the next level is airbags. Earlier there were X number of airbags, now there is X plus number of airbags. So that awareness is building up. Then there are speed limiters. So all of this regulatory environment is also creating more and more awareness and education for the consumer, and I think that's also helping us sell those cars with better safety features.
Absolutely. And then there comes the choice of fuels. That's another choice that consumers are really
Many more
spoiled
coming
for.
up. Many more options
Many more
coming up.
Yeah.
How do you deal with delayed deliveries, since we're talking about X plus X time? Consumers, this is their biggest question. When they ask us, and we recommend a car, they say, oh, but it's 7 months waiting.
Yes.
Oh, but it's 8 months waiting. Because I guess it's whenever you buy something, you want it immediately. Like you
Immediately,
want to
especially
enjoy
a car.
the pleasure. Yeah, especially
Especially
a
a
car.
car.
So how hard is it to manage, and how do you deal with these challenges?
Perhaps the toughest question. You can answer the best.
No, it undoubtedly it is tough, but at the same time, I would say value for money. So consumers who are loyal to certain brands, they're repeat buyers as well. So they would want to stick to that brand and wait for that timeline and be with us. At the same time, the OEM themselves also reach out to them and do apologize and say that there is a certain amount of wait time and we cannot do anything about it, but we are trying our best. So I appreciate that customer-centric approach that we guys have, and how we guys keep in touch with the customers and make sure that we're able to give an expedited delivery as soon as it is.
See, the consumer wants to remain informed.
Yeah.
And if he's coming to us and we tell him that it's let us say a 45-day delivery timeline, then one way of doing it is we don't speak to them in 45 days. The other is we touch them twice, thrice, and keep them updated. Okay, this is happening, this is happening. So that extends the patience zone of the customers. That is one. Second is that, as he rightly said, consumer has already made up his mind, not only just the brand or the product, but he's already made a mind of who is the dealer principal he wants to work with because of his previous experience in the market reputation. So that also helps. So if a dealer is providing a car in, let's say, 30 days, he might be lured to go to that dealer. But then when he has an understanding that this is the dealer that he wants to work with, and even if he's taking 45 days, he'll pretty much wait for 15 more days. So it depends upon the customer-centric approach.
Rightly said, delay is one of the biggest concern for us, no doubt, because having so many variants, everything cannot be kept as inventory.
Yeah.
So every often that customer comes to a thing which is not in your stocks.
Inventory stock,
It's inventory stock. But customer understand that some colors and some variants are such which are actually in a big delay.
Yeah.
Then customer is well prepared, as rightly said, customer should be well informed. We keep them touching that how much time is taking, but beyond that time, that patience, we should not test his patience.
Yeah, but that means there's even, as you said, that customer will come back to a dealer because he's comfortable with the dealer. So there is an even bigger need to have very good after sales so that your consumer stays loyal. But I apologize for saying this in a bunch of dealers, I might get hammered for it, but we are the ones at the receiving end of the comments, has so-and-so problem, car came like this happened, this. So how, obviously in a sea of products, there are bound to be one or two things that go wrong, and that's to be expected. But is that a big pressure now, even from the manufacturer's end, that, after sales, because managing and keeping customers within the fold has become even harder?
So they've learned this, and I think well-managed dealers do understand this, and that's why the OEMs now have comprehensive standard operating procedures which they expect the dealers to follow. And my experience of 15 years tells me that once you follow those comprehensive procedures, I mean, you can pretty much rest assured that your customer will be happy. Now, if you are not following those procedures and processes, of course, the customer will be unhappy.
So it is more about adhering to the SOPs.
Yeah.
If we adhere to the SOPs, there is a minimum chance of having such kind of thing at your place. So it is more about having that knowledge, passing it on to our dealership staff and letting them know that this is the SOPs that you have to adhere.
On one hand, that's SOPs, but like manufacturers, like y'all are the ears on the ground for a manufacturer, right? So y'all are feeding them with what is customer need, requirement, complaints, etc. It's the same, you're the dealer principal. So in a sense, you're the manufacturer at a top level.
Yeah.
And do you often sit and get the feedback and see or judge the sense of, what's the feedback on everything that's happening within our showrooms? Do you keep in touch with customers yourselves?
Of course.
Of course, one has to be.
Without that, the dealership
cannot
run without that.
Times have changed. It's a hyper-competitive environment, as you were already discussing. And
customer is he has to be satisfied with the principal also. So when there's some problem, so dealer principal has to be there.
Has to be involved.
I mean, in a showroom, you can say that if you're unsatisfied, please write a mail to us.
Right.
Yeah.
So that kind of access has to be there for the customer.
Perfect. Coming back to the cars that you all sell, do you think SUVs will continue to dominate? Do you think that that's going to be the trend for the future?
That's
Of course.
billion dollar
Unbelievable
discussion. Not a question.
It's not even a question anymore, correct.
Discussion.
SUV will the big future for the country.
Big future.
Big future.
Yeah. And that mid SUV segment is very, very cluttered. So many products there. It's very difficult. I'm sure there's hot competition in that segment. But do you think that is the area where it's going to grow further? But do you see the compact SUV, where we're now beginning to see a lot more of products coming in? Do you think that will increase?
According to me, I think the compact SUV will increase. Also, the premium SUVs will increase. I think now some of the customer which has already held the SUV for, let's say, 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, will like to graduate up. And people who are in the smaller, much smaller segment, if they are looking for an SUV, they will want to graduate to compact SUV.
How often do you meet with the OEM principals to have this discussion that this is what we are seeing on ground and this is what we feel is needed for the future? And then my next question is, how much of it is heard?
Quite often, regularly the visits are quite regular with the officials and senior officials. They are also visiting regularly. Regular meets are there because everything comes from us only. So see, Maruti, they are making such a wonderful models ahead. Technology they are upgrading. They upgraded all the models as per the need of the.
But there's an automatic feedback loop. I mean, they bring us a product which doesn't sell. The next thing is, why is it not selling? So there is a feedback. And then that feedback is validated not just by me, by hundreds of other dealers. So I think there's an automatic feedback loop. And
even before that, before they make the product, they take all the feedbacks, they try to put it all in this. Even if something is lacking, when they fulfill it, that also.
If there were one wish that you could have to make your job easier, what would it be?
Wish every customer would buy the car that I sell. Of course.
I could sell whatever I have in the stock.
The wish is very difficult for a dealer principal. Dealer principal job is very tough. It looks like to be very easy. So we deal with so many things: sales, service, insurance, finance, wholesale, retails, your finance management, bank interest, your own capitals, and later on at the end of the day, what are the profits we are earning? That is very difficult.
You need artificial intelligence to manage it all.
Yeah, it is coming. Yeah, we are going to shift to that also.
What about you?
I'll say yes, I'll agree to that whatever we have, we are able to sell. That is the ideal situation for us.
Well, it's been a very interesting and informative chat. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for. We hope you've enjoyed watching and we hope you've learned how difficult it is to actually be